In this video, we look at the tragic story of George and Willie Muse, two African-American brothers who were kidnapped and forced to work as circus performers in the early 20th century. We delve into the heartbreaking details of their lives and the injustices they faced, from their humble beginnings in rural Virginia to their captivity and eventual escape. We learn about the systemic racism and abuse that existed during this time period, as well as the strength and resilience of those who fought back. Join us as we uncover these remarkable brothers' forgotten history and shed light on a dark chapter in American history. George and Willie Muse, two young African-American brothers from Virginia, were kidnapped and forced to join a traveling circus in the early 1900s. Their lives were altered forever when they were separated from their families, sold into slavery, and treated as exotic creatures. This is the tragic story of the kidnapped black brothers, George and Willie Muse. Background details. In the late 1800s, George and Willie Muse were born into a large family in rural Virginia. Their parents were low-income sharecroppers who struggled to support their children. George and Willie were both born with albinism, a genetic condition that caused them to have pale skin, light-colored hair, and blue eyes. Because of their condition, they stood out in their community, and other kids frequently teased and bullied them. Despite their difficulties, the brothers were close and supported each other. The Abduction. In 1899, George and Willie were both 7 years old when a group of men approached them in a field near their home. The men gave the boys candy and promised to take them to see the animals at the circus. The boys agreed to accompany the men because they were excited about seeing exotic animals. They were taken to a nearby train station and boarded a train bound for North Carolina. They were sold to a traveling circus and forced to perform as part of a sideshow when they arrived. W.H. Myers, the circus owner, claimed that the brothers were from a cannibal tribe in Africa and had been captured during a missionary expedition. The brothers were given new names, Eco and Eco, and were trained to be circus freaks. Because of their pale skin and unusual appearance, they were dubbed the sheep-headed men and ambassadors from Mars. They were made to perform in front of large crowds and were treated as exotic animals. Cirque du Soleil George and Willie Muse traveled with the circus for the next 28 years, performing in shows across the country. They were kept captive and were not permitted to leave the circus grounds. They were subjected to physical and emotional abuse while being forced to live in cramped and unsanitary conditions. The brothers were paid very little and were frequently denied basic necessities such as food, clothing, and medical care. They were not allowed to communicate with their families, and their parents assumed they had been kidnapped and murdered. George and Willie remained close and relied on each other for support, despite their difficult circumstances. They formed a close friendship with a white circus worker named John Blake, who assisted them in fleeing the circus in 1927. Following the circus, George and Willie Muse returned to Virginia after fleeing the circus and reuniting with their family. They filed a lawsuit against the circus's owner, W.H. Myers, and were awarded $5,000 in settlement. The settlement money was used by the brothers to buy a farm in Virginia, where they lived for the rest of their lives. They never forgot their circus experiences and remained close until their deaths. Legacy and influence. George and Willie Muse's story has had a significant impact on the African-American community. Their story exemplifies the systemic racism and exploitation that many Black Americans experienced in the early 20th century. Their story has been memorialized in numerous books, films, and documentaries, including filmmaker Roger Ross Williams' documentary, Black and Blue, the story of the men who posed as Aztec Indians in 1933. Their story highlights the importance of standing up to injustice and fighting for the rights of all ChatGPT people, regardless of race or background. The legacy of George and Willie Muse has inspired many people to advocate for the rights of marginalized communities and to work toward a more equitable society. Their story also illuminates the exploitation of people with disabilities and differences. Due to their unusual appearance, the brothers were taken from their homes and forced to perform as freaks, a common theme in the history of circuses and sideshows. Their experience emphasizes the importance of raising awareness and acceptance of differences and disabilities, as well as treating all people with dignity and respect. Conclusion. The tragic story of kidnapped black brothers George and Willie Muse is a heartbreaking reminder of the systemic racism and exploitation that many black Americans faced in the early 20th century. Their story is a testament to the human spirit's resilience and strength, as well as a reminder of the importance of fighting for justice and equality for all. Their legacy continues to inspire individuals and communities to work toward a more just and equitable society and to advocate for marginalized communities' rights. May we never forget their story and strive for a world in which all people are treated with dignity and respect, regardless of race, background, or appearance. Thank you for watching our video about the tragic story of the kidnapped black brothers George and Willie Muse. We hope you found the video to be informative and enlightening, shedding light on an often overlooked chapter in American history. If you liked the video and want to see more of it, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel.